Hey everybody, my name is Sharon Quinn and I'm also known as the original runway diva, and you are watching Model Behavior. Class is officially in session. My guest lecturer today is jewelry designer SandyBaker, who has been creating wearable, limited edition collectibles since the late 1960s. Welcome SandyBaker to Model Behavior.
Well, thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
1960s, that's a lot of years. So is jewelry designing, is that what you've always done, or?
Basically, that wasn't the original plan. When I was in school, I planned to teach art history on the college level.
Oh.
That's what I wanted to do. But as the jewelry was a hobby and I started making for family and friends, it kind of got a momentum. And it happened because I met an African trader when African art was new to the country. His name was Blee Odati. And he had a giant truck, like a moving van sized truck, and it was filled with African artifacts. And he drove around the US selling artifacts to stores.
Okay.
And he happened to come into a store where I worked in New York, and he was looking for somebody to work at a trade show. Now, when we say trade show now, everybody knows what it is. In the late 60s, African-American businesses ordered through catalogs. They didn't go to shows because very often they didn't know about them. So he was doing the show, and he said he didn't have much money. So I said, okay, well, suppose I put up some jewelry in a portion of the room. And he said, well, maybe that could work. He wasn't sure. But he gave me an 18 by 24 inch space to hang my art on the wall. And I went into a trade show.
That's 18
by 24 inches. It was small.
Oh, because I was like, oh, that sounds kind of big. Okay.
No, at the time, that was big to me. And I just put up the jewelry that I was making, and I got orders.
Now you said that it started as a hobby for you. How did the hobby start? What is it that made you decide that you're going to make your own jewelry?
I was always tinkering. Before I started with,
that's an interesting word. You know why I'm laughing, because we talked earlier.
Well, but I was always doing something. Before I did that, I was studying macrame, which is the Haitian art of twisting and knotting.
Yeah.
And I studied with Spencer Despas, who was a noted macrameist and painter. And I had met him at a party, and he said he did, and I said, oh, I'm interested. And so I started doing it, and somewhere along there, I was working in leather, and I started adding metal to it for whatever reason. And then I got this brainstorm. Oh, yeah. I wanted to make my grandmother some silverware.
Okay.
Talking about a challenge.
Wow.
Silverware starts out as plain, flat metal. You may cut an overall shape like a spoon with the loop at the top and the stem. But after that, you beat your brains out with a hammer.
Oh, you got to hammer it into it.
You have to form it. Yes. Bang, bang, bang.
Okay, so how long does it take to make a set if it's that work intensive?
Well, I can't even remember how long it took me to make a set. But to make one spoon, it took me 2 weeks.
To just hammer out a spoon?
Yes. Well, you're not just hammering. What you're doing is using the hammer to stretch the silver so that you stretch it up so you get your scoop for the spoon. Otherwise, you don't have anything. You have the shape of a spoon, but it doesn't work. But that's stretching the metal.
But how did you learn that though?
I studied silversmithing.
Okay, wait a minute. So you go to school.
I went to school. This was at the Art Students League, and they had a silversmithing workshop, and I went. But I was always curious.
Silver, I've never even heard of that.
Silversmithing, yes, well.
I mean, when I was in junior high school, we took a class where you made little silver jewelry and stuff, but.
No, silversmithing is very
completely
different. Think of a bowl. The only thing that you can start with is you cut a circle in silver.
Okay.
And then you do that same beating to raise all the sides as far up as you want to go to make a bowl. It's hard work. Your ears ring for days after that banging.
Now, you can't tell me that there's no machines that can do this process. Of course, there are machines
Now,
that do
of course,
this now.
yes.
But I'm sure,
I was doing it the old way.
and I'm sure that the ones that are still doing that, their stuff is really valuable.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to.
It's hard to do.
Wow, that's like a cobbler, a shoemaker. That's
Right.
it's
Yes.
a
And you've
lost
got to,
art.
you think you want to duplicate it. So you make a spoon. Okay, great. Now make 4 more, and you want them all to look alike.
Oh my God.
So you learn a lot about metal, and that was good for me because it taught me how metal stretched and where you could push your limits and how to make things that didn't break so easy.
Now why you like silver? I like silver too.
Well, I like gold also. But now, back in the day when I started working in gold, it was $35 an ounce, and we thought that was incredibly expensive.
Oh my God. You ain't getting you're not getting 35 nothing.
That's right.
Yeah, you're not getting anything. You're not even getting gold dust for that.
That's okay. It's true. That's what has happened to prices.
Now,
But that was then.
how do you get your inspiration for your design? Because I'm sitting here and I'm covering everything you're wearing. I'm just going to tell you that right now.
Well, my inspiration comes from everywhere. No matter what I'm doing, it can come from food. It can come from a nice breeze going by. It can come from some picture I see that I think, I like those colors. I'm going to do something. Now, so if you go out to dinner with me, you'll find out that it can happen anytime. And I will stop and make some notes on something that I might want to do. Just because. It's like I don't have to wait for a particular time to say, oh, it's the spring season, I need a new collection. Let me start designing. I've been designing all along, and I just go back and edit and pick and say, oh, that works with this, and that works with this, and that works with this. Okay, there's the collection.
So how do you think, okay, because when I had foot surgery, I was laid up for like 4 months.
Oh, goodness gracious. Okay.
Yeah, laid up 4 months in the house, and I started making jewelry.
Okay.
It was very therapeutic. It kept me from losing my mind, but it's very time consuming. I mean, it seems to me that it's something that you have to be passionate about in order to do it. Because, like, I have this thing where once I break a piece of jewelry, I'm unstringing it and I'm saving all of the stuff, but I never get back around to the actual making part. That's a little hard for me.
But that's what I love to do. I love to work with my hands. I like making things. Most of what I make tends to be far more complicated than a lot of things that are done these days. Because even with my bracelets, for all of the stones, you have to make a little house for each of them. So you have a base and then the sides. So you've got, 7 or 8 of those that you have to build before you can put the stones in them.
May I?
Sure.
And I like things like this. So this silver.
That's sterling on the back and around the sides, and the links between.
And how long would it take to? This is really beautiful. I don't know if you guys can see this. This is really, really pretty. How long does it take to do?
Well,
something this?
I would say about 8-9 hours.
Wow.
And that's assuming that you've got the skills to build the boxes.
Okay.
Because you've got to solder all of that together.
Oh, okay. Soldering.
Yes.
Now you're not speaking my language anymore.
Well, it's a torch. It's just a little bit of heat and a little flame.
I mean, I like I said, I took a couple jewelry making classes. I could never do this. The ring piece.
Right.
A necklace. Anybody can make a necklace and some earrings. A basic. It's real easy. This rings and getting your inspiration. I would never think of something like that.
Okay, this is a rebirthing of a design I did probably in the 80s or 90s. It was called the Bialy. Now you know what a Bialy is, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the original Bialy didn't have all of this business all over it. It was just the silver that had been beaten and shaped, so you had the hill and the valley, and then you come back up.
Okay, so I see a Bialy now, right?
Right.
I see the wow.
But this is a newer version of the Bialy because I got involved with wanting to set black onyx stones and do something else with the surface.
Okay.
So this, with the little dots you see, are sterling pearls, little balls, and then black onyx in between. And then we have red coral on the side.
And how long did it take
Oh,
for?
good, please,
Okay.
I don't know.
All right.
You know, when I'm doing things like that, I don't think about the time, because it wasn't done where I'm planning to resell it. It was done for moi.
Do you do a lot of stuff just for you, or?
No, not a lot, but every now and then I do something.
So you got SandyBaker's signature pieces.
I just, you know, it's like I can feel it. I need to get it out of my system, so I do it so I can move on.
Okay.
Because you know, I am passionate about what I do. You know, it's like, this is the reason I get up in the morning.
And I think it's great that you've been able to do the thing that brings you joy for so long. I mean, have you ever like done office work or stuff like that?
Have I ever done
Or
office work?
did the jewelry thing just kind of, everything took off?
The jewelry took off, but I know from more recent experience that I would have never survived in the office, because the fax machine or the photocopy machine, they don't work for me. Somebody else can come along and go, oh, here it is, bang, and things go smoothly. Let me show up, and it's like, the machine must be broken. So I don't even try that. That's not my area of expertise. I don't try.
Okay. Now, Sabrina says that you were a pioneer in selling jewelry on television. Mm-hmm. How did that happen? Tell me about.
Well, it's complicated, because when I decided that I was going to be in the fine jewelry industry, and the fine jewelry meaning sterling, 14 karat, and diamonds, I had to take the route of entering the Jewelers of America show. That was a wholesale show, and it was only for designer. Well, it wasn't only for designers. Mort Abelson, the late Mort Abelson, was the head of Jewelers of America, and he was looking for people to bring energy into the industry. So he started going to craft shows, looking for younger designers. Mm-hmm. Well, I was never at a craft show, never did them, because my introduction to the industry was through the trade shows. And what happens is, you're at a trade show, you start talking to other people who are exhibiting. They start asking you, well, have you done such and such a show? Have you done this? Mm-hmm. Have you done that? So my head totally went toward trade shows. I wasn't looking for the craft market at all. But I knew some of the people, because we'd run into each other, say on 47th Street buying, or in Tucson buying stones, whatever. So we kind of knew each other. So he inquired of someone else about me, and he said, you know, I'd like to have you in the show. And he said, you've got to bring your collection to me so I can see if it's appropriate. And I went, and he said, yeah. He said, why aren't you at the craft shows? I said, because I don't do craft shows. I do trade shows. He said, like what? And I said, the New York gift show, the San Francisco gift show. I do a lot of gift shows. He said, oh, I see. He said, but why don't you do crafts? I said, because I've been spoiled. And he said, what do you mean spoiled? I said, I've gotten used to air conditioning and flushing toilets, because I was always going to buildings. And so once you do a building show, it's air conditioned. If you're outside, you got to have a tent, and it's hot.
Yes, ma'am.
And that wasn't me. I didn't really particularly care for that, so I didn't go that route at all. But once I got into the show, you sort of have to grow up quick, because it's a whole other ball of wax in terms of you're in an exhibition with lots of major manufacturers from all over the world. Mm-hmm. And there was I. And I carved a path for myself. And what worked is that I had a particular vision. I liked kinetic movement. I liked bold statements. I didn't like jewelry that made a lot of noise, but I liked interesting shapes. Mm. And I got known for a particular style. Oh, you want big and bold? Go to SandyBaker.
All right.
You know, initially it was just earrings. And people said to me, you can't have a business with just earrings. I said, well, that's what I'm doing. Nothing, it's working. But, you know, that was then. But I expanded and added other parts to my collection as I moved on. But earrings have always been my love.
Yeah.
Because as far as I'm concerned, they're part of the cameo focus.
This is a nice little segue you just did right there. So tell me about the shaved head. How long have you been shaving your head?
My head, oh my goodness, it's like 18, 19 years now. It happened because I used to always wear my hair in twists or out wild. I got this idea on one particular occasion to do micro braids, those little tiny, tiny ones.
Girl, yeah.
I did not know what I was doing. When it came time to take them out, I was on day 2.5 and I only done a third of my head.
Oh, no.
And I was like, okay, there's got to be a better way. I don't have time for this. And so I had gone to a party and I met a young man who had grown up. I knew him when he was small, but he was now like a 250-pound, 6'3" person. And I said, what are you doing? He says, I'm a barber. I said, bet, I'm coming to you to cut my hair. And when I showed up at his barbershop, he said, well, what do you want done? I said, off. And he said, what do you mean off? He said, you want it real close, right? I said, no, take it off. And he did a shearing right through here.
With the braid, with half the braid still in?
Yes. And I said, just take it off.
You know, that's what I did too. Christmas Eve 2002, I had enough of the landing strip at the top of my head. And I went to the barber and I said, cut it off. And he said he did the same thing. He said, so you want me to just shorten it?
Sure.
No, I want you to cut it all off. He said, well, you know, I could put a little, he kept trying to give me a weave. I could put a little net weave. I don't want to weave. I just want you to cut it off.
Cut off, I know.
And I cut it off that day. I have not looked back since.
Oh, I've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I just think it's fun. I haven't had any complaints from anybody I know.
I wish somebody would complain about my hair. I wish they would.
What can they say?
I had an old lady stop me once and tell me, she said, you are so beautiful, but you would be more beautiful if you had hair. I said, but you just said I was beautiful. Okay. All right, I'm gonna let you keep that, lady.
Folks are like that.
Yeah.
No, I found the hardest crowd for objections with the hair were teenage boys. They just thought it was the most hysterical thing they had seen in their lives.
My nieces and nephews had a hard time with it.
Initially.
I just had my nephew tell me the other day, he said, Auntie, I don't even think I would recognize you with hair on. He said, it seems so natural now.
Well, it's true, because I recall a couple of years ago, I bought a wig. Just for the hell of it. I said, oh, a little change. The reaction I got from people, what's the matter? What happened? You all right? Why are you doing that to your head? And I said, okay, I got it. I will not pursue this any longer. But I just thought it was interesting, a nice change.
And that gives you a reason to wear fabulous earrings.
Oh, well, I always wear fabulous earrings. My mother always said, a woman is not fully dressed until she has all her jewelry on, including earrings.
Okay.
And so that's just in me. So I'm always in jewelry. I mean, it can be Saturday and I'm going to do laundry. The jewelry is on.
Now you had your art at the Smithsonian. You had your stuff at the Smithsonian?
I have stuff in their archives.
How did that happen? How did that come about?
You do stuff, people see it, they like it, they think, oh, it's different. And they had some ceremony at Cooper Hewitt, and my pieces were inducted into the archives.
That is so
And that's really nice.
Cool.
Yeah,
oh
nice.
my.
But then it's part of my branding, because I have worked to place my line, my collection, in museum gift shops around the country.
Okay.
And so it sort of falls into play, because again, if you're going to do jewelry, you've got to decide what you want to do so you can brand yourself properly. And that's what I always talk to young people about. Who do you want to design for? Do you have an age group in mind?
And that's one of the first things, if you're thinking of, say, coming into the business of being a jewelry designer, is that one of the first things?
It's one of the things you should consider. You want to consider, who do you want to design for? Do you want to design for individuals and do custom-made pieces? Mm-hmm. And how old is the group that you want to design for? Or you want to work with people in their 30s, their 40s, their 60s? What do you want to do?
Does that make a difference?
Yeah, because styles are different for different age groups in general. I mean, specifically, it can be all over the board, but it does make a difference. I knew always that I wanted to sell to stores, because that's my introduction was at the trade show. Mm-hmm. So stores, I started writing stores, and I like store orders, because they might order, 2 and 3 of a style, and they might take 20 styles. Oh, that's a lot of work. I like that. And so that's the route I took.
Okay.
I didn't particularly care to do custom work because I found that very often, unless you've got the right chemistry with your customer, you don't necessarily see eye to eye on what they want. Sometimes they're not sure. They describe something to you, you make a sketch and they say yes, and then when you make it, they go, oh, that's not what I meant.
Then are you stuck with that piece?
Yes. I got stuck only twice, but that was early in my career, and I decided I didn't want to do that.
So this is why you don't do custom pieces.
I like the stores. I like the stores. And I like the museums in particular, especially when they've got buyers who have an art background because they really understand my work.
Wow. Okay.
You know.
Now, you how do you feel now that you're being called on to be an expert in your field?
How do I feel? I think I have a lot to offer in terms of information, but I don't think I have all of the information because the industries are all moving so fast now.
And you said earlier before we started rolling that there's a big difference between the industry of yesterday as opposed to the industry of today. What kind of changes are you seeing?
Well, I think now if you want to enter the fine jewelry industry, you have to choose whether you want to do a high-end line for the price points, because all the expenses related to doing a trade show are so enormously expensive.
How much does it cost to do
trade shows?
Yeah.
Oh, anywhere from $3,000 to $10,000 and up.
For a booth in a trade?
Oh, yes.
Jesus.
And that's, excuse me, but that's the booth. That's not the accessories. That's not the carpet. That's not your lighting. That's not your display. That's not your personnel.
So you're paying $10,000 for just the...
You can. Now, that's a higher end show.
Okay. Well, and you wouldn't be in that show if you didn't have money to... If you couldn't afford.
Okay, you have to have money to afford to be in the space, but you've also got to be producing goods you know are going to write you enough dollars so that you make back your money and some more at the show.
But how does one put their finger on the pulse of what people want? How do you know?
Well, you pay attention to trends and you pay attention to your customers. For me, what I found to be the most helpful is I used to do a lot of trunk shows. Mm-hmm. I used to call them personal appearances. And people would invite me to their stores, and I would get to spend time with, the salespeople who sell the goods, so I could fill them in all the key points about my designs, and also customers who buy the goods from these particular stores. So they talk about what they like or what they need or what they'd like to see from SandyBaker or how much they enjoy a particular concept that I've done. And so I pay attention to all of that. Also pay attention to fashion, because we know ultimately the jewelry's still got to go with the clothing that you're wearing.
Yep. So
you pay attention to the colors so that things can coordinate. Doesn't have to be the exact same color, but it's got to work. And so you're always paying attention to the market. You're constantly researching. But if you're into it, it doesn't feel like work. It's just like, oh, well, let's see what's happening. Oh, yeah. Like I decided that one of my new collections for this year was going to be in blue.
Oh.
And it's a blue Tiful.
Oh, okay.
And you are wearing beautiful glasses.
Yes, I am.
And I thought blue was going to be the color, and it is.
You mean for the season?
For the season, yeah.
Yeah, there has been a lot of blue. I like blue.
Blue is nice.
Now, do you have any, of all the pieces you made, and if you've been making jewelry since the 60s, you done made a lot of stuff.
Yes, I have.
Do you have any favorite pieces?
I have a few favorites. There's one earring that I call Mambo that is in a book called 500 Earrings.
Okay.
And it's got these little tiny triangles that just the streams of them, and they just hang down. They're just beautiful. They don't make noise, but they're dramatic.
Okay.
I like that. And I still like my Bialy.
It stands out. It's very, very different.
And this, like I said, the old Bialy, I did several versions. I did one with a little etching surface, so it was like, it kind of looked, at a distance, it looked like sprinkled black pepper, but dug out.
That sounds really, really beautiful.
I've done it combined with mixed metals. I've done the sterling with bands of gold over it, striped. I've done all kinds of things. I've had a lot of fun.
See, here it comes. See, the blank look in my face. I was telling you about that earlier.
The Bialy is a fantastic piece because I've done it as a pin, as a brooch. I've also done it as a necklace, where I've taken silver or gold beads and I've reshaped them till they look like little lentils, like soup lentils, and they're strung. And then you've got this giant piece hanging there.
Reshaped. So you had to melt it down, and
well,
then
no, you don't. You're not melting. You're doing a little tapping. You're not
the soldering thing.
No, with the hammer. You're not beating it to death this time. You're tapping to make a new shape.
How much noise are you making in your apartment, beating up some silver?
You can't do it in an apartment, and even in an industrial setting, it's sometimes a problem. How I solved it, and I didn't. At the time, it was just like, people are complaining, I got to do something. I use butcher block tables.
And what does that do?
It absorbs the noise because it's all wood.
Oh,
and
it
it's
muffles
so
the sound.
Yes.
Okay.
And I had the tabletop and the forelegs all butcher block.
Wow. Did that?
It worked.
It worked?
It worked.
Now, do you still hammer out like?
Well, I know, because right now I'm not doing the same kind of work. I'm doing less forging and metal work and more designing with color.
Okay. And the stones?
I buy the stones pre-cut already. I go to Tucson. Tucson has a gem and mineral show that happens every February. And the whole of Tucson is covered. I mean, literally, every parking lot that exists, it's got somebody in the parking lot with tables of stuff. Stone dealers come from all over the world.
To go to Arizona to
go to Arizona to sell to all of us people who are there to buy stones. I mean, even museums can go there and shop for the giant geodes you see in Natural History Museum, all the big things. Somebody's brought them from South America, literally crated them up and brought them to Tucson. It is the most fascinating thing if you can ever go and see that.
It sounds amazing.
It is. It's mind-boggling. Like I said, there are parking lots with your little motels, right? Everything, every space that's available has got a table and somebody's selling something.
Oh.
And you've got major concession halls that also have things for sale.
All right. Well, we are just about out of time. I think we got under 2 minutes left.
Okay.
I'd like to take this time to thank my guest, jewelry designer SandyBaker, for hanging out with us and sharing her industry knowledge with us. Now, before I go, I'd like to leave you with a few thoughts. 1, I want you to remember that you can't change the game without first learning the game. 2, always surround yourself with positive people and positive things. 3, do what you love and love what you do. And lastly, be who you are, but be who you are tastefully. Always have some class about yourself. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest. And if you missed an episode of Model Behavior, now you can view all the previous episodes on our YouTube channel. Just Google Model Behavior with Sharon Quinn, and all of the previous episodes will come up. Thanks for watching Model Behavior, and I'll see you guys next week. Class is officially dismissed. Bye, y'all.